All right, let's talk about the economy right now. You assume you're the president, facing a recession, a lot of jobs being lost right now, especially in states like South Carolina and in Michigan. What do you do if you're president right now?
Well, we'd all be better off if people didn't think that these tax cuts were going to expire at the end of 2010. I think that that's an underlying thing, but it's a little longer range.
That's a long-term thing.
Little longer term, no question.
Right now, the 2008, a lot of people are worried.
Well, it's not something that politicians can snap their fingers and do, but we need to recognize that the Fed plays a very important role in this. And the Fed's been gradually reducing rates. Some people think not quite fast enough, but my strong hunch is that they're going to continue to reduce interest rates, and I think that will help.
Is that enough?
I think, well, it depends. The numbers are still coming in, you know, and there's no question now that the subprime market problem has reached over into the housing problem in general. Credit's drying up, and consumer credit in general. You're seeing it with regard to automobile sales. You're seeing it with regard to credit card interest rates and things of that nature. So it does look like that there is a problem that needs addressing. A stimulus package.
Let me press you on a stimulus package, because President Bush is reportedly thinking about some plan that would cut taxes for the middle class, that would increase spending, if you will, for some programs to help the middle class, and maybe cut taxes for corporations, for big business, to try to stimulate the economy and create some jobs.
We've been through this stimulus dance before. And if we can come together on something that's reasonable, I think it might be a necessary thing.
From your perspective, what's reasonable?
But it is usually fraught with pork and different interest groups, additions and things of that nature.
The additional spending, you mean?
Yeah, the additional spending part. You've got to do something that's immediate, which probably has to do with tax rebates. You could discuss as to who to give that to. You want to help the lower income first, I think, on something like this. But lower income does not have a high rate of participation in our income.
When you mean lower income, a lot of lower income, they don't pay a federal income tax.
The lower bracket, 10% and below. I've seen a proposal that makes a certain amount of sense. That for a year you could have a moratorium on that 10% bracket, take it to zero, increase the child credit, and that would get money into the hands of lower income folks. The problem is that many lower income folks don't pay any income tax to start with. But you got to look at that at some level. I think a stimulus package and targeted rebates would be beneficial. I also think for businesses, things like adjusting depreciation schedules and allowing the write-off for certain capital items instead of having to capitalize it over a period of time. Those are all things that I think would be legitimate to look at.
Mike Huckabee, who won the Iowa caucus, is doing well in the polls in South Carolina right now, which is an important state for you. I spoke with him earlier today, and he really blasted you. And I'm going to play a little clip. Listen to this.
Fred Thompson talks about putting America first, and yet he's the one who is a registered foreign agent, lobbied for foreign countries, was in a law firm that did lobbying work for Libya. I certainly wouldn't put my name on something like that.
Oh, I said strong words. Those are pretty strong words. Are they factually accurate, though?
It took the government. I was in a law firm that did some lobbying work for Libya. Yes, that's correct.
Did you personally get involved in that portfolio?
No. I wasn't. One of the lawyers talked to me about, I never talked to any of the clients or anything like that. And I was out of counsel. I wasn't even a partner in the firm. But I've addressed more in the last 15 seconds than the governor addressed the other night when I hit him with about 5 different things that he had done. And his response was to return fire with some potty humor that's the best he could come up with for the last 3 days. Now, after 3 days, he's been given his talking points, and now he's beginning to slam me a little bit. Let's talk about policies that have to do with our country. I talked about his blaming America first, about our arrogant foreign policy. I've talked to him about wanting to close down Guantanamo and bring those prisoners to American soil and give them habeas corpus rights. I talked about giving public monies in Arkansas to illegal immigrants. I talked to him about the fact that he received the NEA endorsement because he opposed vouchers. National
Education Association.
Exactly. And, you know, till this day, that has not been addressed. These are substantive issues. These are not a personal attack. If the governor wants to get into to personal attacks and things that happened some years ago and things that they've done and allegations, there's enough on the record in Arkansas that'll keep us busy for the rest of this campaign. I don't want to go there, but I would like to address some of these things like Guantanamo and like our arrogant foreign policy.
But the specific charge, he says you were a registered foreign agent. Is that true?
No.
You never registered with the Justice Department on behalf of a foreign...
It is one of those things that takes about 10 minutes to explain. Someone came into me in that big law firm and asked me about a matter about a foreign client that they had, and I made about 5 minutes worth of contribution to that client's problem. And anybody that ever does anything like that has to register and tell what they did. And I did. Total public disclosure. Again, I never met with a client or anything. It wasn't my client. I was just acceding to something somebody asked me to do in that law firm. That's pretty thin gruel compared to the future of the United States of America.
What was the country? What was the client?
It was Haiti at that time. Yeah, it was totally consistent with the policies of this country, where a dictatorship had taken over that country, and we were opposing that.
He says also that when you were a United States Senator, your record was limited. And I'll play what he said Friday morning on CNN's American Morning. This is Huckabee.
After 8 years in the Senate, I guess he has nothing to show for it other than he attended some meetings and cast some votes, made a few trips, and became a Washington lobbyist, because he's not told us one thing he did in 8 years as a senator. He has attacked me. And the point is, if he'd look at my record, he'd know that he's really, really needing some folks to come off the writer's strike and give him some better lines.
He left as governor having raised taxes $500 million more than he cut. The Cato Institute gave him a D and an F, this conservative institute that judges governors in terms of their tax policies. He has come out with these blame America first comments. His so-called populism, his campaign manager has said that the Reagan Revolution is dead. That's what started this thing the other night. The question was asked. I didn't even bring it up. Britt Hume asked the question. Ed Rollins says that the Reagan coalition is dead. What do you think about it? And of course he talked around the subject and smiled and giggled and told a couple of jokes. When I came back, I said, this is about the heart and mind of the Republican Party, because I don't believe it is. But if you look at the governor's record in terms of illegal immigration policies, he objected when the state legislature in Arkansas tried to make it so that a person had to prove they were an American citizen before they could vote. And he objected to that.
So there's clearly some contrast between you and Huckabee.
Yeah,
what about you and McCain? What's the biggest difference between you and McCain?
The contrast with Huckabee and me is that I'm talking about issues concerning this country. And somebody has dredged up, he's raised enough money now to get some hit pieces and dredge up personal stuff and personal accusations against me. And now you're seeing the real Mike Huckabee come out. So I think we've done a favor to the American people, because these are serious times, and it requires somebody that knows what they're doing and doesn't walk into a situation with foreign representatives and heads of foreign nations with training wheels on.
And very quickly, McCain, is there a real difference between you and McCain?
Yeah, I disagree with the illegal immigration bill that they proposed last year and the year before last. Said it from the very beginning and didn't think that that was the way to go. I've disagreed with him on tax cuts in times past. In 2001 in particular, I know one time when I supported the tax cut and he didn't. So yeah, and we've talked about that.
And there are differences, I'm sure, with Mitt Romney as well.
We've had. It's interesting that this all focuses now, because I've been talking about these things, including on the debates with Romney and Giuliani and sanctuary cities as far as Giuliani is concerned. Mitt Romney's change of positions on various things. But this kind of hit a nerve. Evidently, Governor Huckabee is not used to receiving criticism, and is not used to having the media follow up and say, well, what about these policies? He went to the National Education Association meeting and criticized fellow Republicans because they were not there. He was the only Republican, which is true. All the Democrat presidential candidates showed up, and Mike Huckabee.
Senator Thompson, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.